Welcome to the official, unofficial podcast of the Melbourne Demons. We've got a special guest here, Harry Horton. Tell everyone about your day at the footy yesterday before I get to Cam Burt.
Daddy, let me go.
Okay, I'll gladly let you go. Off you go. That was a great start.
Welcome.
I thought he was going to give us something, Cam, but welcome, my friend.
Thank you for having me.
Mate, great to have you on. He's hilarious, this boy. So yesterday, we had a great day at the footy, and I actually wanted to speak about that off the top because I thought Melbourne ran an incredible activation for all the kids yesterday, which culminated in 35,000 people actually getting to the game, which I thought was a big shock. I was thinking more low 20s, and there were so many kids there, and it was school holidays, and it was the 1:10 slot, but I think Melbourne did a very good job to get all those kids through the gates.
Yeah, with the kids day, and I think it was North's membership makeup day as well. 35K was a good number, but there was kids bloody everywhere. It was awesome. They had all this stuff going on, and Christian Petrarca cups were floating around the place as one of the giveaways. It was really well done by the D's.
It was a beautiful day at the footy. Enjoyed it with Harry, who didn't give us much off the top there. A little bit disappointing, but he gave us a lot yesterday. He was so loud. He got cut at the security at the end. He walked down to the race and we saw the players coming off and we're cheering them off. And he wasn't really interested in the players, Cam. And I was like, what's going on here? And as soon as all the people started walking out of the stadium, he went right to the front and he's like, when are they going to let us on the grass? And I was like, I was like, mate, I don't think they are today. I don't think you can go on. And he's like, but I want to. And I was like, well, they're not letting you on, Harry. So we had a little tantrum at the end there because they wouldn't let him on the hallowed turf at the MCG. But it was a great day out. It was a pretty relaxed day. It was a pretty chill day. Melbourne comfortable in the end, a 6-goal win. North with some big outs like Larkey, Wardlaw, Davey Juniak. But we did the job and we did what we needed to do. And Cam, we kicked straight.
Yeah, we kick straight, and it's rare. And funnily enough, it was North that was wayward early that kind of kicked themselves out of it. They could have been 3, 4, 5 goals up pretty early. So it's pretty good watching it from the other way.
Yeah, it was actually. I was saying that to Scotty. We were like, oh, wow, this is what it feels like to be on the other end of the stick, where North had some control in the game. They had some ascendancy, but there's nothing that they really did with it, to be honest. And even when they got close in the third quarter, we were good enough to pull away. And then it almost felt a bit party time in the last quarter. I certainly was enjoying it because I think you and I were speaking about it earlier in the season. That North Melbourne loss at Marvel was one of the single worst experiences I've had at the footy in a long time. So even though it was a clash between 14th and 16th coming in, it still felt like there was a bit of niggle and it still felt like we had a point to prove. And I think that loss in round 2 was not lost on the players themselves.
Oh, not at all. And I know that for a fact. I spoke to Tommy Sparrow and Clary on Friday afternoon down at Casey Fields, and us making Charlie Comben looked like prime Matty Scarlett in round 2 was spoken about by the players and something they remembered. And they knew that North hadn't beaten the same side twice in a year since 2019, I think it was. So it was genuinely spoken about, and I'm glad because North had a go. They really had a crack and were really in the game till halfway through the third quarter. And as you said, a little bit of party time, but yeah, the players knew it, and that was really important. I think it showed as well. I love the fight that they showed late as well.
Now, just on Tommy Sparrow, have you had any communication with him since yesterday? Have you heard anything? Because you are a player sponsor and he's a great kid, and it would be great to get an update.
I did message Tommy and I haven't heard back yet, but the club tell us that he's all good, so that's all we can go off. But yeah, I've close enough with Tommy Sparrow to know him on a personal level, and seeing him go down, it hit harder than probably anyone else. But Jesus, he went down hard too. It must have hit the sweet spot because boy, he was out before he hit the ground. It was pretty hard to watch.
Yeah, it was. It was a horrible incident. And I said on Robbo's rundown earlier today, just one you don't want to see in footy, particularly being knocked out before he actually hit the grass itself. And Tristan Cherry has been offered a 3-game suspension for it. That's just come through, I think, an hour before the time of recording this tonight. It's probably there 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Some people saying more. Some people saying, oh, he didn't even mean it. The way I look at it, you just can't be swinging stray arms in such close vicinity. If he was going for the ball, cool. I think it's a moot point. He knocks him out. And the AFL, ever since the coward from Collingwood decided to take matters into his own hand with the first flying smother I've ever seen in my life, the AFL implemented a rule off the back of that, and they've been very, very big on the fact that if you are concussed, then ultimately the outcome will overrule the action. And it was, let's say he's going for the ball. Well, fucking hell, Tristan. It was just so clumsy. And apparently he's a nice guy, and I'm sure he is. But it just felt like he was pent up. He was frustrated. Gorney was giving him a bath. Gorney was saying, that's my 8th All-Australian jacket. You can wait a little bit longer, pal. And it boiled over in what was, or what can only be described as an extremely clumsy act. Let's give him benefit of the doubt, even if he was still going for the ball. You just can't do it.
Yeah, but shout out to Heath Tudor he's pretty active on the old X, and I talk to him pretty often, and he shared a couple of videos today as well where he almost did the exact same thing to Jeffo not that long beforehand. If he wasn't trying to hit Tom Sparrow, what was he trying to do? What was his intent? Because you don't tackle a bloke with your arm out to the side like it's the WWE. And you're right, it's rarely now classed on intent. It's always outcome. And Spaz is nowhere near playing football, I wouldn't think, for a couple of weeks. So you just can't have that look in the AFL. And if they let that off, whether North take it to the tribunal or not, because they're 0 for 2 so far on appeals, and it cost you 10K every time. So they're going to go again. But yeah, and interesting. And look, there's no place for this either. But Jack Graham self-reported himself for using a homophobic slur and got 4 weeks. Tristan Cherry almost knocked Tommy Sparrow's head off his shoulders, and he gets 3 weeks. So if you hurt someone's feelings, it costs you more than knocking someone out. I think our balance is really off at the moment. You can't have either. I'm not condoning either one of them, but yeah, I'd be really surprised if North challenged that. The only reason they would is maybe to keep him in the All-Australian race.
It's a good point, actually. What was he trying to do? Maybe the argument for some, I'm just trying to play devil's advocate, and I'm certainly not sticking up for the bloke. I was howling at the fella yesterday and booing as much as I could in front of my little one without, obviously saying any derogatory words of that nature, because then I'd look like the worst dad ever. But when he came over to the members' side for a ruck contest, I was really going ham. And I don't think there was enough Melbourne supporters that were having a dip at him at one point, but I did enjoy Gorney when he plucked it out of the ruck and ran away from him and set up a goal. That was very nice. But you're right. Like, what was he trying to achieve? And was it just simply coming through with a swinging arm to try and collect the ball? Even if he collected the ball and hit him high in the chest or in the neck region, he could have caused serious injury. So in the end, it's a bad look. It's a bloke that's swinging an arm in an area that he shouldn't be swinging an arm in. The weird thing for me is just the amount of people that are saying there was nothing in it. Like, Dan Gorringe has gone out and said the game's gone, like, just earlier, and put a post out. I'm like, Dan, like, have we not learned anything this year? Like, Connor Nash as a good example, as maybe a reference point. Have we not learned that ultimately the AFL are going to come out and they're going to give 3, 4, 5 weeks to these blokes for these swinging arms? Tom Lynch, we've seen it with as well. So I just think that's an absurd take because the precedent has been there early in the year, Cam. Do you agree?
Yeah, mate, same thing happened last night on First Crack. Jay Clark brought it up and mentioned that there's no place for it. He should go maybe tribunal, 3 weeks minimum. And Nicky Dowell and Lee Montagna both defended Sherry and said, "Oh, there's nothing in it. He had no intention of knocking Tommy Sparrow out, so he shouldn't have anything to answer for." The bloke was knocked out cold, and you got to pay some sort of a price. And I don't see what else. What else was he doing with his arm? And the footage is there that he did it not that long after or before. It was in the same pocket actually that he almost knocked Jeffo's head clean off his shoulders. So I don't know. Just strange takes that there's so many people like there was arguments on, Salem pushed him into it, and it is a split second thing, but what do you do with your arm out that far to your left there? That's not a tackling motion whatsoever. So look, we're biased. We're both we're red and blue, and I sponsored Tommy Sparrow, so it hits a bit harder. But gee, what was the bloke trying to do?
Yeah, it's a funny one. It's created more conjecture. I often think it's hilarious when you've got guys like Nick Del Santo and Lee Montagna, and I actually like Lee Montagna. Nick Del Santo, not so much. He's probably down the pecking order for me, close to the bottom in terms of a pundit. He doesn't offer much for mine anyway. But these are the same guys that'll sit there and be on a panel and discuss how you need to protect the head and just how important concussion is. And then they'll do a complete U-turn and defend a bloke who is swinging an arm in a position he should have never swung an arm. So it's really funny how much they contradict themselves. And I'm sure I contradict myself plenty of times on this podcast. But with something as delicate as concussion, and you've got these guys that are talking about how it's so important as a code, as the AFL. We know the lawsuits that are potentially coming through as well, and that whole predicament that the league has on their hands, and then these blokes have the gall to sit back and defend a bloke. It just makes no sense to me. But it is what it is. We move on first and foremost, and I 100% agree with you. And I was thinking of you yesterday when Tommy went down. Let's just hope that he doesn't have bad side effects off the back of this. I don't believe he has a history with concussion, and he gets through the next couple of weeks unscathed. I think you're right. We might see him on the sidelines for at least a fortnight, and let's just hope that Tommy Sparrow gets back and he doesn't suffer any more symptoms post what was, again, a horrible incident to witness at the MCG. You never want to see that happen when a bloke's down on the ground. It was a bit gutting, to be honest. So we move on and we talk about the game itself, Cam. It was a win. We did what we needed to do. I think there's a few positives in here. There's a few drawbacks I'm going to speak about as well, but let's get upbeat. And there's a few people that have messaged me on the social since our unhinged honesty session on Thursday. They're like, geez, you were dark. You're normally the light one. Well, I'm happy to get lighter. I'm happy to be lightsy, all right? And with that, I think we have to speak about the encouraging signs from Jacob Van Rooyen and Matty Jefferson as a duo. Individually, there's some really good positives to come out of their game. But as a duo as well, it also allowed Bailey Fritsch and Jake Melksham to get off the chain. And I think that's something you've been spruiking on X as well. Let's start with Roo. Let's move to Jeffo. And then I think as a foursome, we can talk about Fritter and Melk and the business that they did because they were devastating yesterday. Jacob Van Rooyen, very good second ruck yesterday. He had 10 contested possessions of his 17. I thought he was flying at it with purpose, more confidence. There were times that he did fly under the ball, which annoyed me a little bit. But I think overall, you've got rocks for brains if you don't think that that was a step forward for Roo. It looked like a Roo with more intent, and it was definitely his best game of the season.
Yeah, not even close. I wouldn't think to his next best. And I'm sure he would have loved to impact the scoreboard a little bit more, but he presents up the ground a lot higher. Probably more traditionally as a centre forward rather than a full forward. Yeah, 1-1 and just presented really well. And he competes really well as a second ruck, and I think that's why we all want to see the change and that he will be removed from the second ruck role. but he's not gonna because he competes so well, and he bullied Maley yesterday in that role and pushed him around and just dominated. So that was such a massive step forward for Roo, and 70% time on ground as well. He'd been tracking it a lot lower than that in weeks gone by. So I think maybe he's turned a corner with the coaching staff as well, and that they're probably a little bit more confident in his abilities. But he's really shored up definitely my confidence levels on what he can do for us next year.
I agree. And now it's just go on with it. So it's another 6-week patch coming up. He's showed some good signs yesterday. Now use it as a stepping stone, use it as a springboard. Carlton on Saturday night. Weirdly, now I really want to win that game after winning yesterday. And you forget that winning feeling as well. We had 2 bad stretches with the 0-5, and then we've gone another 5 consecutive losses before yesterday. But it is bloody nice to win, and it's nice to see kids like him enjoying their footy. And Matt Jefferson, the next one. Again, I thought we saw what you've been speaking about on the Casey report. I think we saw what the coaches were speaking about in the off-season. They were lauding Jeffo's preseason. He came in round 1. He did pretty well against the Giants, and then he goes down in that first quarter against North Melbourne in round 2, and it's scuppered his season. So now a bit of continuity, continue to play him, and I think yesterday there were people in the MCC around us going, oh, shit, like he flies at it. He crashes a pack. He was halving contests. They were like, for a guy that's still a bit of a weed, a skinny fella, and that's coming from a skinny fella, I liked his intent, and I think that's all you can ask.
Yeah, mate, he presented at every contest. As you said, he halved almost every pack. As a full forward's job is to halve a pack and bring the ball to ground so that guys like Cos can do their thing. And I thought he did that spectacularly yesterday. Look, you look at the box score, it's not going to present super well. 9 touches. 4 marks is not a bad number. 1 goal, 2, missed one he probably should have kicked. But I think Melk getting off the hook has a little bit to do with 2 genuine key position forwards being run at the same time. It means that the 3rd and 4th best defenders are playing on the likes of Fritter and Melk. I think it just opens us up in a couple of different ways, and you got to get something out of the next 6 weeks of football. If this is what we get out of it, developing a little bit of a duo and a partnership for key position forwards, it probably doesn't get much better than that from a young player standpoint. I thought they were really good, and it's opening up Jake Melksham being the inform forward at the moment of the entire league.
Mate, he is a psycho. His shoulders just popping out in the first quarter or early in the second, whenever it was, and he came off. I think it was actually end of the second quarter because I was worried about him going into half.
Yeah, it was just before half time.
That's right. And I thought, oh God, if there's a player we can't afford to lose at the moment, almost 34-year-old Jake Melksham. And then he comes out in the second half and he just torches them. And his goal kicking was excellent. He set shots down the punt road end, and my God, it was windy. It was the windiest of windy days, and we kicked straight, and it was so bloody good to see. And Jake Melksham just led the team in that forward half. Him and Bailey Fritsch just had a field day, and the way that they were waxing on and waxing off as well, I think you're absolutely right. Van Rooyen and Jefferson allowed those 2 to go to work. Jake Melksham's a phenomenal player, and I said it to Scotty. I'm like, he's so clever and he's so good to watch live. Like the way that he just swivels his hips. He's so smart when the ball drops in his vicinity. And he kicked the 5 goals, and the stat that's been doing the rounds is he's the first player to kick 4+ consecutive goals in 3 consecutive games. So I think the last person was David Neitz in 2006. So it tells you everything about how he's going at the moment. The contract talk for me is it's a moot point. He gets a contract. There's no doubt in my mind this bloke plays footy in 2026, and I'm almost going to put it out there, and I know the body regresses very quickly once you get into the mid-30s because I'm feeling it at the moment, but he'll probably still be a star contributor next year as well. That's how well he's going. He's so fun to watch. And the other thing that's been doing the round on the socials, and I completely agree with people, you retain this guy. He's not going anywhere. As soon as he hangs up the boots, let's say it is the end of 2026, give him a coaching contract because I love just sitting back and watching him yesterday, the way he was directing traffic, and you can tell he's mentoring the likes of a Matt Jefferson, and that is worth its weight in gold. You've got to keep those people at the footy club. He's the full package, old Melky.
Yeah, we've got a shocking history, mate, of moving on players too quickly, as Robbo's mentioned a couple of times. I think Melk plays till Melk says he doesn't want to play anymore. He is just, it's not just the 14 goals he's kicked. I think it's 14 goals, 8. So in the last 3 weeks, he's had 22 shots on goal. That's insane. That's the thought that you got Carlton this week.
Yeah.
Who does Wiedering go to? Is it Roo? Is it Jeffo? Does he have to go to Melk because he's been on fire? And that opens up a can of worms with Mitch McGovern. Who does he try and shadow? It's well, we've come off another 0-5 run, and we're given some pretty decent headaches. And you really have to get something out of the last 6-7 games of the year, and we're getting there. I think there's some really positive signs. And mate, Melk, there's no reason why he can't play. Well, he definitely plays next year. There's no reason, but why can't he play another couple and step straight into a coaching role? I was out at training on Friday, and seeing Jonesy run around out there is just awesome. Still in the red and blue, geez, he's still got the rig to be running around in the midfield too. Mate, Melk's got so much to give, and his footy IQ's got to be up there with one of the best in the league, I would think.
Oh, definitely. We're saying the same thing again, Scotty and I. We think he's one of the most intelligent footballers we've ever had. He's just reads it so well. And another player that was reading it really well was Bailey Fritsch. And that was his second highest rated game ever in his career. If you listen to Andrew Whelan from Wheelo Ratings, and he is gospel, so I'm going to listen to Andrew. He was phenomenal in that role higher up the field, and he had 21 disposals, and he was directly involved in 6 goals. He had 3 goals and 3 goal assists. And I love the fact that for a player that's been slammed over the journey for being a bit selfish, and the AFL 360s or the first cracks of this world have gotten out some analysis and drilled Bailey Fritsch and said, he's not team first, he's not this, he's not that. And for him to loop that one over the top when it was a bit of party time to Melksham, I did notice a lot of players getting around Bailey, and I feel like I've been saying this for a while. I feel like his run of form's been pretty good since that Brisbane sub game. I feel like he's turned a corner, and if his role is higher up the field, it solves a couple of problems for us because he's one of the few blokes that has a good field kick on him. So if he's the distributor going inside, and then it means that he can kind of just float between the lines as he did at different times and take a grab around 40, 45 metres out, well, we know he can be a dead-eye dick, and he's got no problem kicking them from range. That's another trick up our sleeve, because instead of running up towards the ball, if he can run away from the ball and we can score on turnover, and we've got a Bailey Fritsch that's free and out in space, then we're a dangerous unit, and he needs space to operate in. And we saw it yesterday, and I think it was the perfect role for him. And if, again, he can continue to find form at the back end of this year, suddenly a player that's been very maligned over the past 18 months might have a spring in his step going into 2026.
The more he's around the ball as well, he's a really good field kick and can hit it. There was a couple kind of dodgy ones hit as he tried to bite off into the middle yesterday, but
There was, yes.
him and Mel kicked 8 goals, 1 yesterday, and I think that directly correlates to Roo and Jeffo being the focal points as big bodies up forward. So the forward line has a lot to work with now. I think you just have to persist with what you're seeing. I think if you're a forward at Casey at the moment, you kind of shoot out of luck because they are getting it done, the big boys. And yeah, Fritter, it was weird seeing him run around at Casey earlier this year, and I didn't think it'd last long, and I'm glad it didn't. Also thought it was really weird that he was the sub, but it was almost exactly what he needed, a little bit of a kick up the butt to say, mate, it's not just as easy as roll out there and run around and chase a couple of fairies and kick a goal here and there. It's put your big boy boots on and hit some people. And even there was one in the first quarter where he like leaped into the middle of a pack and got absolutely poleaxed. I haven't seen that out of Fritter for a really long time, putting his body on the line like that. So some really good signs from the forward line in the last couple of weeks.
Agree. Let's talk about Tom McDonald, T-Mac. So this is the thing I'm going to say. Why did we drop him? We dropped him, I believe, going into the Sydney game off the top of my head, and it was a baffling decision at the time. And he's waltzed back into the team. He's had 12 intercepts. He's had 11 marks, both demon highs in those two categories. And he's just imperious. I said it. I'm going to keep saying I said it to Scotty. I said it to Scotty before the game. I go, mate, watch him have an absolute perler. And he just shrugs the shoulders and he's like, yeah, of course he will. He's T-Mac. He should have never been taken out of the side. My God. Cam Burt, if he gets taken out of the side, pitchforks will be out.
This is a really interesting one as far as you've been speaking a few weeks in a row now about playing the favourite sons. I don't know what Tom McDonald's done to fall out of that category, but he was so far and away our best defender yesterday. I don't know what he did to get dropped. He only made the side because Stephen May had COVID. And then he comes in and dominates 11 marks. How many of those were intercepts? He's just so cool, calm, and collected as well. Whenever he was under the ball, you just thought, oh, well, that's T-Max. Who's he going to find? So by all accounts, Stephen May had COVID. He should be fine by this week. It's a huge thing, isn't it? Like you cannot drop Tom McDonald. You just can't. And then Blake Howes was fantastic for Casey as well.
Yes.
So you have a tall defender issue at the moment. If anything, Disco was probably the worst of the bunch, and he's been the best of the bunch for the biggest part of the year. So there is a genuine selection issue for tall defenders this week against what used to be a really formidable duo, the Carlton Football Club. So, man, I don't know what you do this week. What are you doing?
I'm not sure, but if people want to listen to a full rundown of Blake House's performance for Casey, then of course you have to listen to the award-winning Casey Report with Cam Burt himself, which will be out tomorrow at 4 p.m. There's a nice little plug segment. What am I doing? I'm putting Jake Lever in early. It's not going to happen. It's fanciful thinking from me, but I did notice when he was running towards the bench, he can barely hit top speed, in my opinion. And again, I don't know what his top speed is and what he looks like when he's running at full blast, but his running gait, and it just looks hampered at the moment. Yeah, it's a bit weird, Cam. So I would just say, hey, mate, we love you. Sorry I sent you a text and dropped you. But what we're going to do is we're going to put you on ice and we're going to get rid of all those little niggles. And if there's any postseason surgeries, we'll put you in now and we'll give you this 6 weeks and we'll get you cherry ripe, get a proper run at it for 2026. Because we've seen in the past when Jake Lever's had these lengthy periods off, he has come back and not really been the player that we all know and love and one of the best interceptors in the modern game for a long time. I would love to just go, yeah, there you go. Now, I don't think that's going to happen. So if someone said T-Mac stays in, Jake Lever goes out, I think Jake potentially loses his spot. He kind of has to if we're going to reward form. So I'm at a loss. Like Harrison Petty, I don't know if he's actually warranted the idea of just simply waltzing back into the team himself, I wouldn't be opposed to seeing him down at Casey because, again, I don't want him to potentially come in for a Matthew Jefferson after what we saw yesterday as well. Like, we're suddenly stunting his development if we bring Harrison Petty back in. So let's say Jake Lever doesn't get the chop. Stephen May comes in.
Does he?
Like, I don't know. This is so confusing. I don't know. I'm running through it in my head at the moment, and I'm absolutely conflicted. Like, does Stephen May actually come back into the side? And you're like, well, he probably has to, given the fact that he was so good against the Crows. It was arguably his best game of the year. I think there's not a world where he doesn't come back in if he's fit and ready. So it means Stephen's in, and then it might just be a straight shootout between Jake Lever and Tom McDonald. And, mate, I love Jake Lever. Everyone knows that. I think he's a future skip of this football club, particularly if he can get his body right. But just put him on ice, put him in for surgery. But the idea of dropping him back to Casey after what we heard the other week, I don't know. It's a confusing one because suddenly you've got this potential issue with Jake being upset at the coaching staff and match committee again. If that's a reality, I don't want to go down that path because we value Jake Lever so highly. So, Cam, that is the hardest question to answer, honestly, all year because you could upset the apple cart in so many different ways. Forward with Jeffo, back with Lever, T-Mac goes back. T-Mac comes out of the side. People will go, oh, who cares? He's not going to play again next year anyway. Well, again, I think that's disrespectful to him. So how do you answer this? I don't think you can.
Yeah, the media shitstorm that hits if you drop Rick again would be mental. But also here was Carlton's named forward line last week. Mitch McGovern, Charlie Curnow, Lockie Fogarty, Mark Pitnet, Ashton Moyer, and Flynn Young. So Pitnet and TDK obviously roll a bit. I don't know where Harry Mackay's at, in all honesty. But that's still a pretty tall lineup. So you can afford to have 3 genuine tall defenders.
Oh, we solved it. Thank you.
But we have 5. That's the issue. And I really hope Petty doesn't come straight back in. I hope he's not one of these aforementioned favourite sons and he was separated from the group on Friday at the training that I went out to, just doing non-contact marking with one of the assistant coaches. So I don't know where he's at, but he wasn't anywhere near ready this week. So I'd say if he was non-contact last Friday, he's probably still another week off. But I hope he doesn't come straight in. I think you got to persist with that forward line and that back line. I don't know if Maisie comes straight back in anymore. Like, because can you drop Rick without it causing more shit than it's worth?
Oh, I think other people would say, well, it is what it is, Rick. Your form hasn't been up to it. So maybe you do have to go back. There'll be another school of thought around merit and form and
but it's also, he wasn't bad yesterday either. It's not like he was like, oh shit, get rid of him. As I just said, no. If anything, Disco was worse. He had a bit of a stinker in all honesty. So if you pick it like it, you're in a real, I'm so curious as
Disco's
to.
The GOAT, mate. Disco's the GOAT.
Well, that's the thing. You can't drop him either because he's had a crazy year trained as a full forward for the entire preseason. And he's been our best defender collectively over the year.
Yeah.
Actually, looking at the stats, Rick wasn't great, but no. It's a. And then seriously, Blake Howes was great on Saturday night. So I'm really, really curious for team selection this Thursday night.
I could not agree more with that. DeeBrief faithful, let us know. We'll go out to the community. What do you think we should do? I am flummoxed by that. Thanks for that one, Cam. You really sold me up the river there. I'm spinning out because I actually don't know what we're going to do either. We should speak about Harvey Langford, of course, because he is a supreme young footballer. He has some swagger. He has some mongrel bastard. He's got a bit of ego, which I love about him. He's getting stuck into Zerha late in the game and just berating him. He's the full package, this kid. He's going to be an absolute star. I love how when he gets the ball, he just tucks it under his wing, gains 10 or 15 meters, and then just kicks a beautifully flighted ball, 40 plus, typically into the arms of a colleague. Cam, what have we got on our hands? Have we got a potential top liner, one of the best players in the comp in the next maybe 3, 4, 5 years? Because it feels like it to me.
He's a freak. He is a genuine freak. I think it was first quarter where he floated and took a grab in the back pocket, hit someone up on the wing, followed that up, helped out, got the hands, hit the next target, ran up, got the next ball, and almost laced out Melky, and the defender intercepted. But he's 19 years old and he's this good. Give him another 3 or 4 preseasons, and I genuinely think we're talking about him as a top 10, 20 player in the competition. And it's not that there's no razzle dazzle about it. It's just, I'm going to body you. And he just strides. He doesn't, it's almost like it doesn't look like he's sprinting. He's just at his own pace, little bit of, pendles about it. No, not hurrying up for anyone, hits targets. 24 touches yesterday, ran at 75%, 5 marks, 3 tackles, 500 meters gained. He genuinely, mate, we might have got the best kid in the draft at pick 6.
Yeah, it's true. And that one's been doing the rounds with a lot of the Melbourne faithful, and it should do the rounds because that's how good this kid is. I was actually saying to Kate and McDonald just earlier when we were having a chat on the phone, and 98% of the chat was D's, obviously. And
what was the other 2%?
Oh, it's just business, but who cares? It's business bullshit. And Kados, I said to Kados, there's only 3 things I want out of this season now. And I'm gonna park the negativity unless we lose to Carlton and unless we lose to West Coast. But I'm gonna park the negativity for now, and everyone knows where I stand. I still think we need change, and yes, been going hard in recent weeks, and I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that feel the same way, but it's not necessarily in my nature to be like that. I'm typically very much most of the time a glass half full, a very optimistic person. So this is where I've landed, Cam. 3 things. Beat Hawthorn and knock them out of finals. Beat Carlton because we owe them after losing by 4 points, 2 points, and 1 point recently, and that semi-final, of course. So that would be very sweet, and we could almost send Vossi off to an early sacking as well on Saturday night. So there's a couple of things there in there for us. Beating Hawthorn would be bliss to knock them out of finals. My God, MCG would be rocking. Wouldn't that be nice? And then the last thing is this. Max Gawn to get his 8th All-Australian jacket, coupled in with Harvey Langford to win the Rising Star. So that's where I've landed. That's what I want now.
He can't be far off, Harv. Seriously, his it's just the time and space he gives himself is it's just so impressive. It's crazy to me that he's got the 5th best odds to win Rising Star.
5th?
5th, yeah. Levi Ashcroft, Daniel Curtin, Archie Roberts, Murphy Reed are all above him. I don't even know who Archie Roberts is, if I'm honest with you.
Is he the Essendon defender? I'm pretty sure.
I think you and I could get a game for Essendon at the moment, though, if we're honest. Yeah, those couple of things you mentioned. What a shit show it is towards the end of this year as well. There's this genuine world in which a team could miss the finals winning 15 games. That has never happened before, by the way. The last time a team won, I did the research today because I'm a nuffy. Last time a team won 13 games and missed the finals was 1965. So there's a shitload to play for still, and we might not be playing for finals ourselves, but we can make it really hard for a couple other teams. We got the Dogs in there. We got the Hawks in there. Collingwood playing for a top 2 finish.
They'll be home, I reckon. I think the Collingwood game becomes a bit of a dead rubber for both teams. It'll
be Q in the rack for them more than likely, but there's a lot to play for here for the sides we're playing against. And, Voss is coaching for his job this Saturday night. There's no qualms about that whatsoever. So,
Goody needs wins as well. Don't forget, we are 7-16 in our past 23 games. It's not a good place to be. So Goody's coaching for not his career. I think he's safe. I had a few conversations with people post Honesty Session that are connected with the football club, and I think they enjoyed some of the sentiment, but they're like, Goody's safe for now, and that's absolutely fine. And I know Goody's enjoying the challenge of trying to rebuild us, and that's all good and well. He needs some wins just to show the board and just to show all the other people in the administration that what we're working towards can work, in his opinion. So he needs the wins as well. But Carlton, St Kilda, West Coast, we should be banking at least 2 of those 3. And then I think the big games for us are clearly if we can become a finals disruptor, which is always a little bit of fun. And just look at St Kilda last year when they beat Carlton in that last round. That was thrilling. And they were reveling in it, St Kilda. They're like, yeah, we're here to spoil the party. I wouldn't mind seeing us spoil the party of the Western Bulldogs playing for finals, but particularly a Hawthorn. That would be unbelievable. And as we alluded to, I think Collingwood probably queue in the rack or already probably have top spot sewn up or at least top 2 spots sewn up. So, yeah, it's an interesting few weeks ahead, but I'm going to take it one week at a time. I don't know if you've ever heard that cliche.
credit to the boys.
Cam. Yeah, but credit to the boys. But Carlton on Saturday night represents a really interesting opportunity for both teams. I'd be a bit dirty if we lost to them, given their form line.
Yeah, I want that one. I think I hate the Carlton supporters more than Carlton themselves, but yeah, that one, and maybe just because they've got us by such little and lying margins in the last couple of years, but I really want this one. I genuinely probably couldn't have cared less against North Melbourne. That it was a bit of a strange feeling around the ground. I don't know if anyone wanted to win, but Carlton I want in a big way. I'd love to be the reason Voss finally gets sacked. I'd love for Melk to kick another 4-5. I'd love for Harvey Langford to show Carlton that you should have taken him instead. Poor Jagger Smith didn't get a go, but there's a lot out there still, a lot to play for. There's still a lot of pride. I'm a little bit worried in the fool's gold that we're seeing here. A couple of wins might keep a certain someone in a job, but Melbourne tell us anyway that he's safe and he'll be coaching next year. So you can only take that at face value. Yeah, mate, there's still a lot to go here in 2025.
There is Christian Petrarca yesterday. I just wanted to quickly speak about him and we'll start to slowly wrap up, Cam. But Christian's first half. So I know he gets the 10 Coaches Association votes. And I thought that was a little bit generous, and maybe I'm a little bit harsh on Christian, but I did check his efficiency stats at halftime because that's what I do. I'm a bit of a freak. I go to the butchers, and again, I don't want to shoot him down too much, but Oliver, Petrarca and Viney, we know they've had their problems with their kicking. Track was going at 36% in the first half. That was horrific. You can't be going at 36% if you're as good as Christian is. And he's such an amazing ball winner. We know that. He's so evasive and so strong in traffic. He corrected that, and then he ends up going at 58% overall for the game. And his second half was quite blistering, and we saw some of the best of Christian that we've seen all this year. And I can understand why the coaches did give him those votes, but some of the kicks in that first half, I think it was 5 turnovers alone in the first half, and it's not good enough. I just want him to get a bit tidier. Like if we can get a player that starts nestling himself into the 70 plus or the 70 to 80% efficiency range, then suddenly we're looking at a player that's double the impact, and he's a super high impact player. Like he had the 12 score involvements, which was the most on the ground. He had 7 clearances. He had 31 disposals. There's no problems finding the ball, and there never will be. He's Christian Petrarca. He's got a big tank, and he wins it at the coalface because he's a bull. But he's just got to get cleaner. And if he does get cleaner and he does improve that part of his game when he's delivering it inside 50 and taking shots on the run or taking set shots at goal, then we might just get that incredible version that we saw of him in previous years, because at the moment, it's the only thing that's really holding him back, in my opinion.
I think that was epitomised by, I think North turned the ball over, bit off a kick down the guts, turned it over. Cozzy handed it to Track 80 metres out from goal, kicked it off his shin, into a leading Melksham, and it just sconned every worm on the way. He had what do you have? He led the game in clearances from memory. Yeah, seven clearances, but runs at 58% disposal efficiency.
Yeah.
You know, behind him as well, Jack and Clary on 6 clearances, and they ran at 50%. Viney did, and Clary was the best of the bunch at 71%. Like, just where it's so good at the coalface, can find the footy as well as anyone in the comp. Just can't get rid of it in the right way. But I think the leading patterns are starting to get better, which might make disposal efficiency a little bit better as well. If you've got a genuine forward to kick it to that's leading at you, and it's a 20-metre kick rather than a 45-metre kick it and chase it, I think that'll shore up. But it wasn't that long ago, mate, that Track was in the Bont category. He was in the Toby Green category. He was in the best of the best. And now, I don't know where he falls as far as pecking order in the league, but he's still got all the attributes. And I think he's only, 29? 29 years old. There's still so much good footy there. I think the grace period and the bit of a gap year you guys have been talking about the last couple of weeks needs to be let's just call it and kind of take that for what it is. And there's every chance Track next year has a massive year, because he's still got it all there and he's still in great nick. He can be the absolute face of a Melbourne resurgence in 2026.
Yes, he definitely can be. The one thing we need to tidy up, though, is we get scored in transition far too easily. There were times yesterday where we turn it over and North Melbourne look into the corridor, they open it up, and for some reason, I don't know why, it just feels like in nearly every game that we play, there's a giant leading lane open for the opposition. And it happens time and time again where forwards just drop into this space. They sprint out on a big lead, and there's all these other Melbourne opponents in and around the ball in the vicinity, but there's this like block of space that's big enough to hit a target. And it just seems to happen to us far too often. So I still don't know if we're defending transition well enough. And I think that was epitomised yesterday. And it's hard. Like, yesterday it's a win, but you've got to remember it's a win against a team that will likely finish in the bottom 4 for their 6th consecutive season. They are cannon fodder. It's sad. I feel sad for them. I actually think I want North Melbourne to get good again, like a lot of people do. They don't want to feel pitied anymore. They're sick of feeling pitied. They want to feel hated. They want to win a couple of games against a Melbourne in a year and break a trend since 2019, like you said before. And they want to take some scalps, and I think they're over it and they're pissed off. But from a Melbourne perspective, we should be winning these games of footy. So I don't know if we can read into it too much. I think the next few games will be interesting. Definitely those last 3 games will be telling as well against better opponents. But in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't mean a lot. One thing I'd like to see us do more of, Christian Salem and Cade Chandler. Christian Salem was really good yesterday because where he was disposing of the ball is where I think we need to play him more often. When he's running back towards goal and we've turned the ball over, it's almost a liability because he doesn't have the foot speed to get back and cover. And yesterday, because he was playing further up the field and we're using him more as a distributor going inside, we saw some incredibly precise kicks from him. So it's one for the coaching staff to think about. Can we get him into those more advanced, dangerous positions with ball in hand? And then the other one was Cade Chandler. And I've been crying out for more scoreboard impact. And yesterday, that's exactly what we got. And again, another beautiful field kick and someone that we need to utilise in those forward half positions. Good to see him kick a couple of goals. I think he's got all the tools to still be an absolute jet of this competition. He's showed glimpses of that. It's just another conundrum for the coaching staff. Instead of being that scrapper and that pressure forward, which he'll probably always be, it's just I'd love to utilise the darting kicks that he's got and the eye for goal that he's got more often. But there were two other players yesterday that I think deserved mentions because I thought they were pretty good.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. I don't have a lot more to add there. Christian Salem probably would it'd have to be his best game for the year, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I think he was back to his best, and funnily enough, we thought Cade Chandler kind of turned that corner when we played North last time. He was the only player that came with his boots. On the other spectrum of things, mate, I wanted to get your thoughts on the, I thought, really random subbing out of Xavier Lindsay and not Colton Tholstrup, who Colt has had a really, really poor, I think is the word, 2025, in and out. Probably got a little bit of a lucky selection in a way last week. When I heard X got subbed out, I'm looking at the stats going, look, and X didn't have the best game by any stretch, but Colt had seen the ball at three-quarter time 3 times. One of them, from memory, was a direct turnover. What are your thoughts on Colt? Are we on Spud watch a little bit here? He was picked 13.
I think second year blues, it happens a lot. We've seen it happen with Caleb Windsor as well. I always give these young boys a reprieve when they're second year. I think you almost have to, in a way. They're still so young. They're still so raw. And both of those players, Colt and Caleb, have struggled this year. A pick 7, a pick 13, as you mentioned with Colt. I'm not worried yet. I think you persist to keep playing him. Yeah, I said the same thing to Scotty. Another mention of Scotty. He'll be loving this. But we thought that it was Colt that was definitely going to get the sub Guernsey or vest. So, yeah, I think it was maybe potentially the wrong call. But then again, Colt just kicks the banana and celebrates wildly and shows everyone his beautiful perm. So if we subbed him out, we wouldn't have got that special moment. But in all seriousness, you are right in saying that there should be some semblance of concern, maybe. But for me, I think it's another couple of boys that roll their sleeves up. They get into preseason, and hopefully we start to see the best of them. Next year, hopefully we start to see Caleb Windsor played more predominantly on a wing where I think he can play his best footy as well. So I don't think it's warning signs yet. I don't think it's panic stations. I think we just give these boys a reprieve just purely because they're in their second year of footy. Is that a little bit piss weak? I don't think so. Some people might go, nah, bugger it. We should be expecting more. There are players that are second year running around that are impacting games in a big way. Well, these two blokes aren't, and maybe it's because we're not utilising them correctly, and I definitely think we're not utilising Caleb correctly at the moment.
No, I do feel for Caleb. He's had X and Harv come in and take both wings off him, throwing a bit of lingers, and there's not a lot of wing minutes left. And I think he just looks like a genuine winger. I think that's his best position, and nothing worse than being a sub, mate. You don't get a full game at Casey, and then you come in for 20 minutes of football, and it takes you 5 minutes to get into the game, and then all of a sudden there's an all-in brawl, and you'd be like, what's going on here? I only just stepped on the field. And he's still so young, for sure. But there's really positive signs to see Roo, not kind of fall out of that slump a little bit. Caleb's still only 20. Colt's still got a lot of work to do as well. Another preseason, another bulking up session. But yeah, these were really high picks, and we've done such a fantastic job at nailing not just high picks, but all draft picks in the last 4 or 5 years. So you'd hate to see them miss on 2 in not a big span of time. So bit of a watch there. It's another really important part of the last 6 games of 2025, I think.
It is indeed, Cam. I think we wrap it there. because we've got to do the award-winning Casey report just after this and talk about Ricky Mentha. I'm getting excited, mate. He's a prospect.
He's a
Cozzy
prospect.
Cozzy commented on a post before where they put up all Ricky Mentha's goals on the Melbourne Football Club account, and Cozzy just commented, "My little bro." So Cozzy's getting excited about his prospects. So that's a nice cheeky plug. If you haven't listened to Cam Burt, what are you doing, number one? Number two, there is this thing that exists if you don't know what it is, and it is called the Casey Report, and myself and Cam Burt, we do it every week, either on a Monday or a Tuesday, and we roll through the resis and talk about the Melbourne listed players. So make sure you listen to that. But mate, as far as debuts go on the big show, I should call it the big show. You've been exemplary as always. But I never doubted you. Do you know what? You're the Tommy Mack of the DeeBrief. You've been down at reserve level, plying your trade. You come into the senior side and you excel with aplomb. So that's a nice little tip of my hat to you.
Ready, kick me the pill. No, it's fun, mate. And honestly, I got no qualms being on the Casey report. I've genuinely enjoyed it this year. So we'll get stuck into that nice and soon, I believe.
Yes, no, it's good fun. And Casey, their finals hopes are still alive. The senior side, our finals hopes are kaput. So please get around the Casey report. But it's been good jumping on the airways on the official, unofficial podcast of the Melbourne Demons on the review show. Robbo's Rundown, that is out for all the DeeBrief Premium subscribers. If you're not one of them and you want to sign up, it is $42 annually. You get a 30% discount, or it's $5 a month, and you get access to the likes of Russell Robertson, my player ratings every weekend. Not as many exclusive interviews this year, just too freaking busy trying to grow a business, and just the two little fellas as well. It's very tough, but we supplemented that with things like the Casey report, and everyone's hard-earned allows me to keep justifying it to my wife. So, yeah, we love doing this. It's certainly not a moneymaker, but it's a hell of a lot of fun, and it's a great outlet for the Melbourne community. And I'll leave it on that note, and please, for the love of God, Melbourne, beat Carlton on Saturday. We'll see you on the Thursday show.